Today, we received a slew of documents connected to the investigation into the missing Sullivan children in Pictou County. 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack vanished more than 3 months ago. Hundreds of pages of just-released court documents shed light on what police discovered. CTV late anchor Bruce Frisco has been pouring through it all and joins us with more in the News Center. Bruce.
It all began with a single phone call. On the morning of May 2nd, at precisely 10 a.m., Malaya Brooks Murray dialed police in panic. Her words were rushed, uneven, almost breaking with fear as she reported something no parent ever wants to say aloud. Her 2 young children were missing. 6-year-old Lily, bright and full of energy, and 4-year-old Jack, just beginning to grow into his mischievous, playful personality, had vanished. Malaya insisted she believed they had simply wandered away from their trailer home in Landone Station, a small, quiet community in Pictou County. But even in that first call, her voice carried a strange uncertainty, like she wasn't sure what had truly happened. Within minutes, RCMP officers were dispatched. At 10:27 a.m., less than half an hour after the call, they were standing at the family's front door. They documented everything with painstaking detail: the interior of the home, the scattered belongings, even the nervous, uneasy body language of those inside. Officers later noted that something already felt off. There was a tension in the air that couldn't be ignored, a subtle sense that the scene didn't quite match the urgency of the story being told. Still, police wasted no time launching a search. Officers fanned out into the surrounding fields and woods, shouting the children's names into the silence. Neighbors, shaken by the news, came running to join in. Within hours, dozens of volunteers had formed search lines, combing through thick brush and open farmland. Specialized RCMP units arrived, along with K9 sniffer dogs trained to track the faintest human scent. Yet in those crucial early hours, a chilling discovery was made. The dogs couldn't find anything. No trail, no scent, nothing to suggest Lilly and Jack had even stepped beyond their yard. It was as if they had simply evaporated. When the first court documents were eventually released, the public expected clarity. But instead, one detail stood out for its absence: the exact time Malaya last saw her children was completely blacked out. A single redacted timestamp, hidden without explanation. Why would investigators keep that information secret? Could it mean the children had been gone far longer than she claimed? Was there an unexplained gap in the timeline, a window of time no one could account for? The lack of answers only fueled suspicion. As hours bled into days, the search expanded until it felt as if the entire county had become involved. Posters with Lilly and Jack's smiling faces were taped to storefront windows, pinned on bulletin boards, and nailed to telephone poles across Pictou County. Helicopters circled overhead, their engines echoing through the sky as they scanned the forests and rivers below. On the ground, parents pulled their children close, holding on just a little tight at night. And in every home, the same chilling thought lingered: if 2 children could vanish without a trace in the middle of the morning from their own yard, then whose children were truly safe? 10 days after the disappearance, on May 12th, the spotlight that had once focused on the woods, fields, and rivers of Pictou County shifted inward, into the Sullivan home itself. The pressure was mounting. RCMP investigators, under scrutiny from a restless community, decided it was time to test the family closest to the children. That morning, both Malaya Brooks Murray and her partner, Daniel Martel, were brought in for polygraph examinations. These weren't casual interviews. Investigators studied every flicker of movement, the blink of an eye, the tightening of a jaw, the rise and fall of each breath. A polygraph is designed to pick up on what the human eye misses, the body's involuntary reactions to stress and deception. When the test concluded, the results surprised many. Both Malaya and Daniel passed. According to the machine, there was no deception in their statements. At that stage, investigators even documented that the case was not officially believed to be criminal. For a moment, it seemed the search might remain focused outward, toward the possibility of an accident, an abduction, or some unknown external factor. But unease lingered. Even with clear results on paper, something in the atmosphere surrounding the family continued to unsettle both the police and the public. By June, the scope widened. Attention turned to the children's biological father. If there was even the faintest possibility that he had been involved, investigators needed to rule it out. He, 2 agreed to sit for a polygraph. And once again, the results came back clean, no deception detected. With that, 3 key family members had been cleared by the polygraph. And yet, the central question remained unanswered. If not them, then who? Where were Lilly and Jack? Then came the turn of the children's step-grandmother. But hey, the process took an unexpected twist. The polygraph could not produce a usable result. Police records noted that her physiology was not suitable for analysis. In other words, the machine failed to interpret her readings. Was it simply a quirk of the technology, a matter of stress, nerves, or medical conditions? Or did it point to something far more significant? The outcome was left hanging in a gray area. Not a pass, not a fail, but an inconclusive mark that offered no clarity, only more questions. Although investigators did not publicly accuse her, or anyone, rumors spread like wildfire. Online forums ignited with speculation. Some pointed directly at Meliah, questioning her timeline and demeanor. Others cast suspicion on Daniel, the stepfather, whose role in the home placed him close to the children. And now, with the step-grandmother's inconclusive test added into the mix, the public's distrust deepened. For many, the family home itself had transformed into the focal point of mystery, a place where answers should have existed, but only more shadows seemed to form. On May 3rd, barely 24 hours after Lilly and Jack were reported missing, investigators thought they had found the break they were waiting for. While combing the area beyond the Sullivan home, officers discovered an object that immediately shifted the tone of the search, a blanket. Not just any blanket, but Lilith's blanket. It was located about a kilometer away from the family's trailer, lying in a spot where no one expected it. For detectives and volunteers alike, it felt like a sign, a physical breadcrumb pointing to where the children might have gone. A wave of cautious hope surged through the search teams. Maybe, just maybe, this was a clue that would lead them to Lilly and Jack. But that fragile hope didn't last long. Standard procedure meant bringing in a trained sniffer dog to confirm whether the blanket carried a trail. These dogs are renowned for their ability to detect even the faintest scent, often leading investigators across long distances. Yet here, the unthinkable happened. The dog couldn't pick up anything. No scent of Lilly, no scent of Jack, no scent of anyone at all. It was as if the fabric had been scrubbed clean of its story. To seasoned investigators, this made no sense. If Lilly had carried or even touched that blanket recently, the scent should have been strong enough for the dog to follow. Instead, the trail went cold right where the evidence began. Then came another twist. Only days later, officers found a second piece of the very same blanket, this time tossed into the garbage at the end of the family's driveway. That discovery raised even more questions. Was the blanket carelessly thrown away during the panic and confusion of the search? Was it placed there after the fact? Or was someone deliberately planting it to mislead investigators and shift the narrative? Two fragments of one object, found in two completely different locations, only deepened the mystery. What should have been a beacon of clarity instead became a knot of contradictions. As one investigator would later admit, the blanket raised more questions than it answered. Once an item of comfort and innocence, Lilith's blanket was now tainted, transformed into one of the most unsettling, ambiguous pieces of evidence in the case. It no longer symbolized warmth or security, but instead carried the weight of confusion, suspicion, and a darkness no one in Pictou County could explain. Then came a voice from within the community, one that, for a moment, seemed to hold the missing piece investigators so desperately needed. A local woman named Natasha Haywood came forward, offering what she believed could be a crucial lead. On May 2nd, the very morning Lilly and Jack vanished, Haywood recalled seeing something unusual as she traveled along the road near Landone Station. Two small children, walking hand in hand. She remembered details that made her heart stop when she later heard about the missing siblings. The boy had dirty blonde hair and wore shorts. The girl had dark hair tied neatly in pigtails, dressed in a tank top with blue straps. To Haywood, the resemblance was unmistakable. She believed she had seen Lilly and Jack. Her account didn't end there. Haywood told investigators that the children weren't walking aimlessly. Instead, they seemed to be heading toward someone, a woman she described as white, somewhere between 50 and 60 years old, waiting by the side of the road. Parked next to her was an older model sedan, possibly tan, gray, or gold, with a back door left wide open. The imagery was haunting, almost cinematic in its eeriness. Two children approaching a stranger's open car door, a moment frozen in time that, if accurate, could represent the single most important sighting in the entire case. For investigators and the public alike, the description sounded like the nightmare scenario everyone feared, an abduction unfolding in plain daylight. But almost as quickly as hope arose, doubts began to creep in. Later, when questioned again, Hayward admitted something that weakened her account. She wasn't entirely sure the children she saw were as young as Lilly and Jack. In fact, she conceded they might have been older. That small admission shook the foundation of her testimony. Human memory is notoriously fragile, especially when filtered through the lens of fear, stress, and hindsight. Details shift, ages blur, certainty unravels. As a result, Hayward's account has remained suspended in a gray area, neither fully confirmed nor outright dismissed. If she was right, then the children's trail extends far beyond their home, leading to the hands of an unidentified woman with an open car door, and possibly into a much darker story. But if she was wrong, investigators are left right where they started, with the last verifiable sighting of Lilly and Jack being at 10 a.m. inside their own yard. And that distinction between truth and error could mean the difference between a solvable case and a mystery that refuses to yield answers. Behind the scenes, investigators worked tirelessly, chasing down every lead that surfaced in those first critical weeks. Teams dug into the family's phone records, combing through call logs and text messages in search of anything unusual, an unexplained contact, a hidden exchange, a sign of coordination. They analyzed banking activity, hoping perhaps a suspicious withdrawal or purchase might provide a clue. Surveillance footage from businesses, gas stations, and traffic cameras across Pictou County was pulled and reviewed frame by frame. If Lilly and Jack had been moved by car, surely some camera would have captured a glimpse. But time after time, the results came back the same. Nothing. No strange withdrawals. No mysterious calls. No sightings captured on video. The trail, in every sense, appeared to stop cold at the family's front door. When the first batch of court documents was made public, many hoped that the veil would finally lift, that answers, or at least hints, would come to light. Instead, frustration deepened. Entire pages were heavily blacked out, leaving gaping holes where the truth should have been. Key pieces of the timeline were incomplete. Even something as basic as the exact timestamp of when Malaya last saw her children was redacted. To the public, those thick black bars felt less like protection of the investigation and more like concealment. Every missing word became fuel for suspicion. Every censored line gave birth to another theory of a cover-up. For the community, the absence of clarity has been devastating. Posters of Lilly and Jack, once freshly taped to windows and pinned to bulletin boards, have begun to fade under the sun and weather, but they still cling to storefronts, telephone poles, and community centers. Parents whisper their names in private prayers at night, torn between hope and despair. Online, speculation runs rampant, threads of rumor and accusation spiraling into countless versions of what could have happened. For the family, each rumor cuts deep, another wound layered on top of their grief. For the town, the case has become not only a mystery, but a collective weight pressing down on everyone in Pictou County. And so, the haunting questions remain suspended in silence. Were Lilly and Jack taken by a stranger? Did they wander into danger, a tragic accident waiting just beyond sight? Or is the truth buried within those redacted documents, hidden from the public eye until investigators are ready to speak? What really happened on that quiet morning in Landone Station may already be written somewhere in those blacked-out pages. But until the truth emerges, only one fact stands unshaken. 2 children are gone, and an entire community is left to wait, wonder, and fear the answers that may one day come.